NCERT Class 12 Volume 2 Part 2 Sociology Chapter 5 Change and Development in Industrial Society. Hi guys, I welcome you to Schooling. We will discuss about change and development in industrial society part 2 of sociology. Those who have not watched part 1, please watch. We will discuss about industrialization in early years. Industrialization in early years in independent India. Jute, coal, cotton, iron, railways prospered during the British rule and continued to prosper even after independence. The government was controlling the public sector. The government decided that some industries should be privatized like coal and jute so that they could earn income. So this is how industrialization happened in India. Now India decided and started to have a mixed sector, a combination of both public and private. As all the needs cannot be satisfied only by the government, private is also welcomed by the government so that there would be lot of investment by the private sector. Some sectors were not privatized: railways, coal mines, defense, telecom services. Port cities during colonial rule. During the colonial rule, the port cities were Madras, Calcutta and Bombay. Now many other cities have become very important like Coimbatore, Faridabad, Pune, Bengaluru slowly became industrial cities. Now let's discuss about the changes that happened in Indian industries. We have already discussed about globalization and liberalization. It is in the 1990s when globalization came to India. Lot of changes and rules were introduced in the industries by the World Trade Organization. Globalization is the interrelationship between local economy and global economy. We have already discussed about globalization, that it is integrating our economy with other economies. It can also be said that globalization is movement of people, goods, service and technology. It involves all aspects of life like social, economic, cultural, political and ecological aspects. In a way, it damages our ecology and is a big competitor with local made products. Liberalization is the economic aspect of globalization. Removal of trade barriers, tariffs, taxes is known as liberalization. Crossing international boundaries by people, commodities, capital and technology. With the coming of globalization, large and small multinational corporations grew very well, posing a threat to local traders. The foreign companies started investing in India and began setting up branches in different places. The biggest advantage being these are called as sunrise companies, bringing in new technology and creating employment opportunities for the people by investing large amounts of money in India. There is a lot of unemployment in large-scale industries. Wages are low as the small-scale industries want to attach themselves to the large-scale industries. Outsourcing is mainly done by private sector, but some government sectors also outsource. So how jobs are found? Nowadays it is very easy, isn't it not? We can take up the classifieds column of any newspaper to find out the required jobs. It is very easy for us. Whatever is the parameter or requirement, we can check through that. But in older days, it was from word of mouth or through personal relationships like near and dear friends. A person called as Mestri from a particular village working in the company used to recommend or observe him in the mill he worked. Later it moved to newspapers, magazines, advertisements, etc. As I told you, nowadays there are websites and manpower agencies who recruit people by getting a sum of money. HR requirement of major companies like multinational corporations are being fulfilled by these agencies. Government employment exchanges register your name and qualification and they call you whenever there is a job vacancy available. So this is how a human resourcing or HR works. From management side, they do the recruitment process based on the ability of a person. They hire them and they train them with skills. So that becomes the career for the person. Contractors. Very influential people, also known as mestris in small factories, towns and even cities, work as job contractors, thereby bringing in new or known people. They are workers in the factories. Many companies have also started outsourcing. They outsource security, gardening personnel, catering, or outsource various parts of the product and that may not be manufactured by the company. So what are the advantages of outsourcing? The particular country or company can concentrate in other productive works. Might be the cost of labor is very cheap in other countries or places so that the developed countries outsource from a lesser developed country or a developing country. Cost of production goes down and they can concentrate on the final product. So this is how outsourcing happens. A developed country hires or outsources from a lesser developed country or a developing country, thereby getting the products or manufacturing is done or assembling is done or the work is done through the people. Personnel are made used for all these things. Highly English speaking influential people are used for these purposes. For example, we can say India. So what are the advantages of outsourcing? No additional hurdles for trade unions. They do not want union to be formed in different sectors. Less number of departments can be had, that is more than enough. And those who are veterans or very good people in doing a particular work or in a particular field will produce a product with full efficiency. So these are the benefits of outsourcing. Every coin has two sides, head and tail. Like that, outsourcing had advantages which we discussed. Now we have disadvantages also. If the supplier do not supply products on time, it is up to the company to make up lost time and make the workers work overtime without any payment. This is not done only for money but goodwill or reputation of the company to kept up for the future years. The quality may not be up to the mark. One has to be constantly vigilant to involve that the quality is maintained. The outsourced country works for another country without having an opportunity to create their own jobs. They can't be independent. They are squeezed out for longer hours by giving strenuous work. So we are not creating any job opportunities for our own land people. There are no entrepreneurs. We just work for another country. So these are also the disadvantages. We don't give opportunity for the youngsters to come up as entrepreneurs. So let's discuss about time slavery or slaves to time. The concept of Taylorism is applied to the IT sector in which each person does his or her work at a given time span. Night out. The professionals work the whole night. It is convenient for them to work at night. So this is how an IT sector looks and works. There might be 2 or 3 shifts. Nighttime work is also there for the IT professionals. It is very convenient for them to work at night. they can rest in the morning, or they can take care of some other works also. So there are some benefits for the night shift people. Salary, perks, allowances will be little high for the night owls. But this is not the same as overtime. This is voluntary. Fixed time. There is no fixed time, but they have to work for 8 hours. They can select their own time slot or working hours. So there are three cities which are the hub of IT: Bengaluru, Silicon City; Hyderabad, High-Tech City; Gurgaon, Cyber City. To cater to the needs of the people, eating joints, shops, hotels, etc. are open overnight. This also creates employment and cater to these people. So the three reasons for staying overnight is to complete the given work, and if you are unable to finish your work, the other persons will not be able to do their work, as it is a chain of works. They do it to please the boss by working for a long time. Joint families are going up as both parents are working and they need to keep grandparents and children secure. The value system given by the joint family members, the elderly people, cannot be taught by the paid help. So let's discuss about the working conditions, particularly of the mines now. In some places like small factories, the working conditions were very harsh, not hygienic, and have lot of insecurity. Working condition in mines is very difficult as the roofs might collapse or suddenly there might be leakage of poisonous gases giving suffocation to breathe. So this is how a mine would look. So we do not know what time the flood might come or the roof might collapse. So it is very dangerous for the people to work for the mines, that too particularly the coal mines. At times there might be a sudden gush of water or flood. In 1952, an act called the Mines Act was passed. The government said that owners of the mines have to follow certain acts or rules. One regulation is that workers have to be paid proper wages and each person should know the number of hours working in the mines, minimum wages and other related factors. Working hours should be fixed. So what does the Mines Act of 1952 say? Certain provisions for measures relating to the health, safety and welfare of workers in the coal, metalliferous and oil mines. The Act forbade women and girls of any age to work underground and introduced a minimum age of 10 for boys employed in the underground work. All safety rules have to be followed as there might be endangerment to lives. It is applicable to every factory. Unfortunately, many small factories do not follow the rules that are laid down. Large factories have to follow rules as a lot is at stake as they are in the public eye. So all people in the mines are not registered. Since they are not registered properly, in case something happens to them, their families cannot get compensation. If any worker is injured, no compensation is paid. There are two types of workers in mines: underground and inside the ground or on the ground. So the problems that arise out of mining are fumes. If inhaled, it can cause serious problem like lung infections, tuberculosis, etc. There is a possibility of collapsing of walls and roofs, lack of ventilation, aging fast, and poor eyesight. So what are the difficulties on the ground? Digging up the mines and they do not fill up the pits before moving to another site, so other workers can fall and injure themselves. They are exposed to weather conditions, sun and rain, and results in skin diseases. Sometimes they used to blast the ground, and if precautions are not taken properly, they can get seriously injured or die. So this is a picture that shows how the people work on the ground. Working conditions of people. They work in unhygienic conditions, longer hours of work, overburdening, fear of insecurity. They are ready to work even for low wages for the reason of insecurity. Living conditions are very poor for these people. So women are paid less always. Women who work are paid less, no respect for them due to inefficiency and ignorance. They are also overworked and exhausted that they have no time for social interactions. They get drunk and sleep in their free time they have. There is no time to spend with their family. Life is very tough, so women are becoming independent and self-aware, getting educated, taking their own decisions, and are quite self-sufficient. So there are house-based industries or cottage industries. Many house-based industries are there in India. It is not as rosy as it looks. That means it is not very easy. The problems are procurement of raw material, finance, marketing, poor planning, outdated technology, inferior quality of the products, etc. So this picture is the example of a cottage-based industry. So most of these are working in unorganized sector like carpets, borders, zari, matchboxes, bags, beadi. These are some of the examples which we can cite here. These works are mainly done by women and children. They are either paid by single piece or dozen or box, etc. depending on the product. Now let's discuss about the beadi industry. Tendu leaves, leaves in which the beadi is made, are collected and soaked, and the women and children make the beadis and sell it back to the contractors. The leaves are collected by the workers of private owners and government officials and are handed to the forest officials who auction the leaves to private owners. These private owners employ contractors who go to the village and hand over the tendu leaves to women and children. Contractors collect the beadis and the women and children are paid meagerly. These bundles go back to factories. In factories, a signature label and scent is added. It is given to distributors who give it in wholesale market to shopkeepers who sell it to us. Let's discuss about strikes and unions. What is a strike? Strike is a situation where workers refrain from work because they want better wages. It is enforced by the worker himself. It is a very risky proposition for the worker as the employer may not take them back after the strike. What is a lockout? Lockout is generally done by the management. It is when the management closes down their factory or industry for some time. In the realm of labor law, strikes and lockouts are work stoppages. Strikes are initiated by the employees and is when the workers cease work during a labor dispute. So this is how people do strike along with the unions in front of the factory, either for better wages or better work environments or for bonus, etc. So what is a lockout? Lockouts are initiated by the employer and is a denial of employment during a labor dispute. Lockouts are temporary shutdown of the factory by the employer but not winding up permanently. Lockouts are declared by the management out of the consequences of clashes between management and the workers due to unjustified demands by the workers. They do not settle with the dispute. There are many clashes like the demands are not satisfied. The worker is not satisfied with the management and whatever is demanded by the worker, the management is not satisfied. Till it is getting settled, the lockout continues. So what might be the reason for the lockout? It may be due to bankruptcy, case pending in the factory, selling it off to other persons, exchange of hands, etc. In a lockout, unlike strike, the management has to pay a compensation or take back the employees. Union is an association formed to protect the interests of the factory owners. Textile Association of India by Gandhi was the first trade association. So this is a picture of the lockout where the company or the factory does not operate for a specific period of time. Let's discuss about the Bombay Textile Mill strike that happened during 1982. It was led by the trade union leader Dr. Datta Samant. It affected 250,000 workers and their families. Trade union association formed to ensure the welfare of the people. So what were the demands of the workers? They wanted higher wages. Rashtriya Mill Mazdoor Sangh, trade union supported by Congress in 1982. The union need to be approved by the government. This act was given by Bombay Industrial Relation Act. The strike consisted of 1,000 workers. They may not get their jobs back. This is the problem which they face. Unfortunately, the mill got Badali workers, so the work in the factory did not stop. After 1.5 years, the strike was a failure. Many workers did not get their jobs back. Very few people got their jobs back. Workers went back to their villages to look for other jobs. Most of the workers went to their villages for other jobs. Some took up casual laborer jobs and some of them migrated, which affected their family lives. So what are the consequences or after effects after the strike? Mill owners stopped buying new machineries, assets of no use, and did not upgrade them. They sold it to property dealers. This was the time when mills disappeared and buildings came up. The whole scenario in Bombay changed. Let's discuss about the important terms that are concerned for this chapter. Commercialization, the process of transforming something into a product, service or activity which has economic value and can be traded in the market. Decentralization, it refers to a process of gradual devolution or change of functions, resources and decision-making powers to the lower level democratically elected bodies. Digitalization. It refers to the process whereby information is produced as a universally binary code and can thus be easily processed, stored and circulated at faster speed across communication technologies like internet, satellite transmission, telephones, fiber optic lines, etc. Disinvestment. It includes privatization of public sector or government companies. Division of labor, specialization of tasks in ways that many involve in exclusion from some opportunities. Therefore, closure of labor opportunities exists in employment or gender. Diversification, spread of investment into different kinds of economic activities in order to minimize risks. So what is Fordism? It refers to a system of production made popular by the American industrialist Henry Ford in the early part of the 20th century. Ford popularized the assembly line method of mass production of a standardized product, car. This age also led to better payment of wages to the workers and social welfare policies being executed by both industrialists and the state. Import development substitution strategy. This substitutes externally produced goods and services, especially basic requirements such as food, water and energy. The notion of import substitution was popularized in the 1950s and 1960s to promote economic independence of development in developing countries. Industrialization. It is the development of modern forms of industry, factories, machines and large-scale production processes. Industrialization has been one of the main sets of processes influencing the social world over the past 2 centuries. means of production. The means whereby the production of material goods is done in a society, including not just technology but the social relations between producers. Microelectronics, branch of electronics dealing with the miniaturization of components and circuits. The major change in this field came in 1971 with the invention by an Intel engineer of the microprocessor, that is a computer on a chip. 2300 transistors have been packed on a chip of the size of a thumbtack in 1993. There were 35 million transistors. So we have come to the end of this chapter. I hope you would have enjoyed the session with me. If you have enjoyed, kindly like, comment, share and subscribe so that when I upload new videos, you will be notified every single time. Please do ask me your doubts. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook also. Thank you.